Welcome back, everyone. I am so excited to introduce our next speaker, our very own CEO, Janet Church. Janet became the president and CEO of the Sjogrens Foundation back in February when Steve Taylor stepped down as our CEO and he joined the Arthritis Foundation as their executive vice president. Janet was named our CEO after a comprehensive search by our Search and Transition Committee, which was comprised of a diverse group of foundation volunteers, and it was supported by the board of directors. Janet's experience as a dynamic leader makes her the ideal person to lead the foundation. She is a seasoned technology marketing executive with a unique combination of corporate, agency, and consulting experience. She worked in and with some of the largest technology companies in the world, as well as with early stage companies. She also has a significant experience with several other nonprofits in the past as well. She served as the Sjogrens Foundation Board of Directors for the last 8 years and was our board chair for the past 3 years. And as mentioned, she also has Sjogrens patients. So she's also a Sjogrens patient, so she knows exactly what you're going through. So she has a personal and focused passion for wanting to help Sjogrens patients and the foundation advance our mission. It is an honor to work alongside Janet as we strive to represent the patient in everything that we do. The Sjogrens Foundation continues to launch new projects with helping newly diagnosed patients, healthcare, and research to change the direction of Sjogrens. Today, Janet will be sharing exciting updates about how the foundation is leading the way in research, working hard on teaching other healthcare providers about taking the very best care of you, our Sjogrens patients, and what is possible for the future. So please, without any further ado, let me turn it over to Janet Church.
Thank you, Don. Wow, that was quite the introduction, and really wonderful to sit in and listen to that from you. It really has been an amazing year of change, and I can tell you that I could not be more excited to take on this role and lead the Sjogrens Foundation. I view this leadership change as a continuation of the same vision and work that Steve Taylor did lay down for us for so many years, and that the board helped to create. I view it like a baton being handed off to me in a long distance race, and I am really here ready to run that race for you and for myself as a patient. Since I was on the board for over 8 years, I'm so familiar with all that we do, and I'm certainly familiar with the different trials and tribulations we have as a patient. I am particularly honored to be picking up the baton as a patient leading the foundation. So many of you have seen me speak before and have read my musings on being a patient, but some of you may be seeing me for the first time and just getting to know me. Dr. Thomas shared a bit about my own medical journey, so you know I've had some very difficult times with Sjogrens, and I've suffered through many flares since that horrible time during my diagnosis period. And I certainly have encountered with those flares bouts of depression, bouts of isolation. So pretty much the normal way of life for Sjogrens patients, our ups and downs that we live with every single day. But I am always seeking new ways to live the best quality life that I can. And the foundation has always been there for me to help me with education, ideas to try, products to try, and support when days have been rough. Today, I feel great, and I have a care regimen that allows me to live a good quality of life and to perform this job filled with passion and purpose. The foundation is here for you too, and I really want you to know that. Of course, we are here for education, and that's why you're all here today. And we are here with patient programs. We're here with our support groups and our town hall webinars, such as this past year, our focus on COVID-19 and vaccinations, and our one-day patient conference and our walks for Sjogrens that really give us not only an opportunity to gather but to build connection, camaraderie, and to know that we're in this together. And I want you to know that I am dedicated to helping you improve the quality of your life. Today, I'm going to shed some light and some accolades on what the foundation does that is not as visible as these other programs I just mentioned and that you are so familiar with. I won't be taking questions at the end, so please just sit back, listen to the highlights that I'm very proud to share, and we can take a look at some of your comments in chat at a later time. But to keep us moving today, I do want to just share with you and then continue with our day today. So what I'm going to share today is the work in the corporate and medical and scientific areas of the foundation. These are the critical programs that take long-term vision, long-term planning, and there is a fantastic group of people that focus on these efforts. Kathy Hammett, Matt McCarr, Charisse DeFrucio, and Michelle Champagny work tirelessly to make a difference in the medical and research communities and with corporations, such as our sponsors today and the pharmaceutical companies creating new therapies for Sjogrens. In fact, we have 13 drug companies with 18 systemic therapies in clinical trials today. And these are specifically to improve the lives of Sjogren's patients. These are drugs specifically designed to help us. Now, I want to take a moment and a little side comment here. Last year at the virtual National Patient Conference, as Steve and I were co-hosting, I could see in the chat area a lot of different comments about pharmaceutical companies. And we do have pharmaceutical companies as our sponsors, and we work with them. But I saw some comments such as, the foundation is in pharma's pockets now. And I want to comment on this head on. This simply is not an accurate or true statement. When we are talking about therapies for Sjogren's, and when we talk about improving the quality of our lives with medication, the absolute only way to accomplish this is with pharmaceutical companies. So what the foundation does is partner with these companies so they are reaching Sjogren's patients for their clinical trials, truly reaching the Sjogren's patients. So they come to us knowing that when we speak to you on their behalf, or then when they speak to you, they are speaking to the exact right people they need to do their clinical trials and to offer solutions for. I also want you to know that we take great care in these relationships with the pharmaceutical companies, and we consider them partners. We partnership with them. We create these partnerships with them. And I want you to know that the foundation does not take any direction from the pharmaceutical companies. Be assured that it is against our bylaws to have any pharma company or employees of a pharma on our board of directors. So do know the only way we get therapies to improve our lives are the partnerships we have with pharmaceutical companies. So with that aside and being addressed, I want to talk to you today about the exciting things we are doing in clinical trials. Then I would like to talk about our clinical practice guidelines and what that takes. And I want to talk about how we are educating doctors, because we know that is a tough road, and one of the most difficult things patients face is finding a doctor that knows enough about Sjogren's to provide good treatment. Finally, I'm going to highlight amazing new research that we are investing in. And these are all new announcements, and I'm super excited to share that with you. So give me just a moment, and I am going to swap over to slide mode and start the presentation. So clinical trials, clinical practice guidelines, and research, and we are going to start with talking about educating doctors. How do we educate the doctors from the foundation? As I said, it is a tall order, but it is an important job that we do. We have several ways that we currently educate physicians. So the first is our Awareness Ambassador program. Did you know we have over 100 volunteers who have been going into doctors' offices and delivering information about Sjogrens? Now, this program was live pre-COVID, and it did turn into a call-in and referral type program throughout COVID. And as soon as we are all in the clear, it'll go back to a live program. But these volunteers go into medical providers' offices and educate on Sjogrens. We often do a theme in a season or in a quarter, and recently we did do our pulmonary guidelines to pulmonologist offices. We have in the past gone into gynecologist offices to inform about Sjogrens. So we have this ambassador program to help us. Next, we have our Sjogrens Quarterly Medical Journal. This is written specifically for the medical provider, and it has a great deal of research, clinical research, scientific studies, and comments and articles by other medical providers all about Sjogrens and caring for patients with Sjogrens. It is a quarterly distribution of about 8,000 medical providers, and this is something that your doctor can sign up for online. So they just go to the website and go into the medical provider area and get their free copy of Sjogrens Quarterly and sign up. And we encourage you to suggest this to your doctors. Next, we have something called Sjogrens Training and Educational Platform that we call STEP. And this is a technology platform that we've created a training program on Sjogrens, and the program has been used by all of our corporate partnerships who are in clinical trials. When they set up a clinical trial site, they asked to send the medical professionals at those clinical trial sites to the STEP program so that those medical providers are trained in Sjogrens. We've also offered this platform to rheumatologists so they can get the updated information on Sjogrens, because some of our rheumatologists aren't as up to date about Sjogrens specifically as other rheumatologists. So you can expect to see more courses in this platform for our medical providers. We are looking to add more education and more specialties in this area. And we go out to medical conferences. Certainly, we have reduced that this past year because there have not been any live conferences, but when there were medical conferences conducted virtually, just like we're doing today, we have participated. And we're most excited about the upcoming ACR, which is the American College of Rheumatology conference this November, because we have 2 sessions on Sjogrens to present to rheumatologists this year. We are making great strides in open communication with the American College of Rheumatology, and this we do anticipate will continue the trickle down of updating rheumatologists that attend ACR and read the publications and attend our sessions. We're very excited about that. Another program you may not be aware of is in 2019, there is a conference called PriMed, and it is the conference that primary medical providers attend to get updated information on any number of medical areas, and they can get CME course credits at PriMed. Well, in 2019, we had a Sjogrens CME course that many people, many primary medical educators did go ahead and take for their continuing education credit. And we are excited to begin conversations again with PriMed and with other organizations talking to primary medical providers about how we can continue to create programs like this. So it is an ongoing task to educate medical providers, and it is something important to us. Sjogrens is systemic, serious, and prevalent. Language matters, and this is a priority of the foundation. You have seen that in the past year and a half, we have changed the company name from the Sjogren's Syndrome Foundation to the Sjogrens Foundation. And we are supporting it at every angle, every relationship, everyone we talk with, whether they're a medical provider, a researcher, someone in the media, whoever we are talking with. We say Sjogrens or Sjogren's disease, and we encourage them to do so as well. You saw Dr. Thomas adopt that language and even make a slight error in using syndrome, but it's going to take some time for a name that has been around for so many years. So we have a standardized document that supports Sjogren's and Sjogren's disease and removes the terms primary Sjogren's and secondary Sjogren's. We support the use of statements such as Sjogren's alone or Sjogren's with another autoimmune disease. So language is very important. It's something that we will consistently be doing in the future, and have already started seeing articles being presented by our own Kathy Hammett, by Dr. Bear, and by other physicians, and we will be continuing the push of language change. That will help with the education. Something that I bet few of you know is that the staff is involved and sits on many committees and coalitions that are important to sharing the patient voice. So for non-government coalitions, this is just this past year, the staff sat on 10 different non-government coalitions, and this includes Oral Health Advocacy Coalition, and this is a group that's working to get dental covered with medical under Medicare. We will continue to take part and be the patient voice with organizations in the medical community. And our staff sits on 8 government coalitions and councils, including the National Institute of Arthritis and Musculoskeletal and Skin Disease and the FDA. So do know we are out there being the patient voice in many, many different locations where there are, in those coalitions, many representatives from the medical community. Now I'm going to switch to what it takes to create a clinical practice guideline, because before being closely associated with the foundation, and I even learned more coming in as CEO, creating a clinical practice guideline is a long-term and serious endeavor. And it's important that we understand what it takes to make these happen. So the reason they need to be done with such rigor is because they need to be accepted by the medical community as standing up to other clinical practice guidelines that follow similar methodology and similar rigor. So our CPGs, which are our quick acronym inside the foundation, we compile a consensus expert panel that has 68 medical providers, patients, and representatives, as well as medical associations weighing in on these clinical practice guidelines. A serious methodology system is used. There is extensive international document and research and abstract investigation that all has to be read, reviewed, compiled, and then our consensus panel has to weigh in on that. And before we even get to completion of writing up the what the clinical practice guideline will be, we have to have 75% consensus of our consensus expert panel to move forward with a product and to publication. And this can take anywhere from a 2 to 4 year process per clinical practice guideline. So I want you to understand what it takes to create one. And I want you to look at that new pulmonary guide, which I'll bring up in just a second, and know the amount of work and the number of people involved, more than 68 people on that particular one, and that they are being accepted in the medical community because of that. So they take the time they take because of how important they are. So in the first phase of the CPGs are the 3 main initial clinical practice guides, which are the systemic manifestations in Sjogren's, ocular and oral management. And I do hope you've downloaded all of them and shared them with your physicians. All clinical practice guides, once published, are downloadable, and we do want you to do that. Our new one, getting great acclaim, are our pulmonary CPGs. They're beautiful, they're extensive, and they're so fascinating to read. Dr. Lee is going to give an in-depth presentation of them tomorrow, so we'll all learn about pulmonary complications in Sjogren's tomorrow. So this CPG has also been published already in CHEST, which is the pulmonologist's main publication. And we have published them ourselves, and they've been a part of our awareness campaign. Be sure to download them. You can download them tonight and follow along with Dr. Lee tomorrow. And our next CPG, it is for the peripheral nervous system, autonomic nervous system, clinical practice guidelines. And I have seen people in chat talk about dysautonomia and some issues with the ANS. So do know that this is a key area that we are looking into, and you'll see a little bit more about that in just a moment as well. But these are our next guidelines. We are at the early research stage. So there will be more time before these are published. So next, clinical trials. We had a little lull with COVID in clinical trials moving forward, but clinical trials are ramping back up, and it is time to get involved if you have any desire to do so, because we need patients to go into clinical trials. So we have a lot going on in clinical trials. First, we have the 18 trials by 13 companies to produce a systemic drug treatment for Sjogren specifically. I mentioned that before. 6 of these trials are in phase 1, which is the small group safety phase. 10 of the trials are in phase 2, which is a larger group with people with disease to look at efficacy, and the 2 trials in phase 3 coming into phase 3. This is the final stage before FDA presentation and approval, and this is the stage that's a larger group that demonstrates efficacy of the therapy, and that we definitely want to be supportive of, get involved with, if you have the inclination and capability at all, because this is the last phase before FDA presentation and hopefully approval. We have 12 clinical trials for dry eye therapies, 3 for dry mouth therapies, and 15 other clinical trials in process for other symptoms and issues. I also want to talk about something that the foundation created a couple years ago, and this is something we call the Clinical Trials Consortium. This is where we bring together our pharmaceutical partners and other organizations such as the FDA, anyone interested in clinical trials. And the purpose of this Clinical Trials Consortium is to have an understanding of how we can help the patient and how clinical trials can speak with patients better and ensure that patients have a better experience and a good experience, so that clinical trials are processed well and effectively. Last May, Kathy Hammett and I sat in on our last meeting, and it was an amazing meeting of 54 people that joined in from different organizations and the FDA. And it's a pretty exciting thing to have heard the questions that they're asking, the conversations that they're having, all to ensure patient knowledge and understanding. So I do want you to know that clinical trials are back in action, and I thought this would be a fun time to conduct a little poll, our first interactive poll. So if you can go down to the polls area, let's see if they make it live for us. I don't see it yet. So guys, you can pull up. There we go. We have 4 questions for you. And if you can go ahead and click on the polls area, the very first question is, have you ever called about a trial, called a trial coordinator to simply just ask questions and called a specific trial? So we'll wait a second because I know we have so many people out there, but a lot of people still yet to vote. So actually, I'm pretty encouraged that we're running about 30% people have called and 70% of no. So just to keep us moving along, I'm going to go ahead and can we pull up the next question? Not yet. I guess we have to wait till the full question's answered. There we go, the second question, because it looks like we are running that. About 30% have called. So have you ever participated in a clinical trial and completed the entire trial process? This is really interesting. It's looking about 16% of you that are voting have completed a trial process. Oh, it looks like the poll is not working for some people. Make sure you're clicking on the poll number. There should be a little number if it's not popping up. Then you just click the vote by yes and no. Well, I'm sorry for those who aren't able to participate, but we'll just keep on going because it could be that 16%, 83% is a ratio that might kind of hold even if everyone could take the poll. Let's go on to the next question, guys, and it's really, have you started a poll? So the next question, number 3, have you ever participated yet not completed the trial process? And thank you, everybody, for continuing to try to access the poll if it's not working for you. And let's go ahead to the 4th, because it looks like about 6% of people started and dropped out. So the next question, if you have never participated in a clinical trial, would you consider participating? And this is an answer for those who can participate that we'd love to take back and make sure that you have information that you need to move forward. And that's exciting. It looks like about 91% of respondents, 90%, would consider it. So I do encourage you to go on our website and click on the clinical trials area, which will drop down different states that are that have clinical trials in them, assuming that you'd be looking for a clinical trial that's closest to you, and will just select your state and see if there's a clinical trial that you'd like to call on, and go ahead and see if you're interested in a particular program. So let's go on back to the slide presentation, and thank you everyone who could participate, and for those who were trying, I'm so sorry that the poll didn't work for everybody, and we'll look into that tonight because we are doing a little poll tomorrow for fun too. So let's keep on going and move forward. Now I'm going to talk about our new research, and I am so excited to be talking about this because all of these are new investments for the foundation and new things we're going to learn. And what I really want people to start understanding is what the heck is a biomarker, because biomarkers are where we are going in research and medicine, and it'll make precision medicine possible. And really what you need to know is there's research that is going on that is starting to take different biomarkers. So not just your blood, not just blood tests, not just saliva tests, but skin tests, anything that comes from your body is a biomarker. So the foundation every year does a research grant program, and we award generally 3 grants a year, 2 high impact and 1 pilot program. And this year we were able to add a second pilot program. So we have 4 research grants that we are awarding. The high impact grants, Cynthia DePaiva, Dr. DePaiva at Baylor College, is been awarded a grant to identify Sjogren's gene expression signature in iron oral, mucosal, and epithelial and immune cells. And the outcome is to really generate an atlas with unique characteristics. Take a look at this data, these biomarkers for unique characteristics, and see if there can be a facilitation of a new diagnosis and cell signatures of the eye and the mouth. Dr. Sarah McCoy of University of Wisconsin has been awarded a high impact grant to identify novel autoantibodies present in seropositive and negative Sjogrens, so Sjogren's patients. So really the outcome is to reveal new pathologic processes in Sjogren's and improve our ability to diagnose Sjogren's. And this is particularly important for those of you who have Sjogren's but are seronegative. Dr. McCoy is looking for other biomarkers and other ways to have a positive Sjogren's test. Our 2 pilot awards, Dr. Addie Alt-Holland from Tufts, to determine the levels of forest-specific metabolites in saliva and sweat-based epidermal samples. So to have a complete epidermal metabolic profile presenting with dry skin in Sjogren's patients compared to people without Sjogren's. And then all 3 of those are biomarker research studies. And then our final study is from Dr. Melhani from Stanford University, and we gave him a grant to screen patients in pulmonary clinics to identify underlying Sjogren's and monitor clinical status and create a new patient registry. So he is going to go into pulmonary clinics and see if some of these people who do not currently know they have Sjogren's, and see if there is the ability to identify needs in a Sjogren's related lung disease to inform future research and treatments. So that ties in very well with our current pulmonary guidelines and our focus on pulmonary and ILD and Sjogren's. Super excited today to announce that we have funded the Childhood Sjogren's Registry, which is a long-term study that will be housed at the Mayo Clinic and is created by the International Work Group for Childhood Sjogren's. Very exciting stuff. This is the type of registry that will, over time, over long periods of time, be able to show what it's like to have Sjogren's as a child, coming into young adulthood, and as an adult. It could potentially map out patterns of the life of a Sjogren's patient. And as you saw in Dr. Thomas's presentation, I myself can look back and know I had Sjogren's as a child. So dysautonomia has come up a lot in the chat, and this is an area that we are very excited to start focusing on. As I mentioned, we have the clinical practice guidelines that we're starting, that we're working on right now for the PNS and ANS systems. And if you don't know what dysautonomia is, here's a list of a few things that might be happening to you. The GI symptoms we have, the fatigue we have, and neuropathies, you know, these random things like, is this new thing Sjogrens? Is this new thing I have Sjogrens? Many of these might be due to dysautonomia, and certainly POTS that we've already touched on is part of this. And I'm super excited to announce that we have just partnered with Dysautonomia International to fund a $100,000 research grant on Sjogrens and POTS. Each organization contributes $50,000, and Sjogrens is the second most identifiable cause of autonomic neuropathy. And when people are tested that come in and have POTS and are given a Sjogrens test, it sometimes comes out positive. And that's part of the study and part of what this research grant is going to take a look at. We just announced this, so many details are going to be coming out closer to the fall, and certainly later on in the year about how you might be able to participate. But this little card on the side, announcement card, Stronger Together, you're going to start seeing this from both the Sjogrens Foundation and social media and Dysautonomia International. And then finally, research to learn about you. I think many of you have seen our Living with Sjogrens survey and data sheet, and this is where we get a lot of our information about, 96% of people are female, or the age ranges, or how many of us have multiple autoimmune disease, how many of us have mental health issues because of our disease. All of this data that we collected was collected in 2016, and it is time to up that research and get a new read on our patient community. So expect very soon an email that will highlight that it's time to take this survey. This time the survey will be digital, so you will receive an email about this. If you receive emails from us now, then we have your email address. If you do not receive any email from us and would like to take part, make sure that you contact the foundation or call in and make sure we have your correct email so you can take part, and look for it in your email. Probably in we hope in July, those questionnaires will come out. So our future is rich with research. And I know I probably have gone on a little bit too long, but I just had so much to talk to you about, and it is such an amazing time. We are really at the precipice of learning so many new things about Sjogrens, with so much great research on the horizon. And this is how we come together and conquer the complexities. And with that, I want to thank you for your attention. And if you do have questions for me, I've been seeing the chat going, do put questions in there, and we will be able to take a look at them, and I can review them after the conference. But thank you so much for your time. And now it's time for our next Exploring Sjogrens Spotlight, and Dr. Thomas will be taking care of that. Thank you all.